So I arrived on the allotment this morning to do a harvest, and unfortunately I found that we've got blight on the tomatoes. And we have been lucky so far. We've had no blight on the indoor or the outdoor tomatoes, so we've been pretty good and we can't complain. Yeah, it's always slightly disappointing when you find it, but anyway, just more work and maybe a slightly reduced crop. But to be honest, we've had such a good year for tomatoes this year that we're not really going to lose out. So anyway, let's take a look. So I've been lucky, but blight has finally arrived in the polytunnel, and so I've been rapidly clearing away almost all of the leaves. I just leave just a few at the moment. I'll probably have to take those off next week or in a few days' time. I've got a lot of tomatoes here that hopefully I can still ripen off before I have to take the plants out. But to be honest, I'm not too upset about it all, because we have had an amazing tomato harvest. We've still got loads of ripe ones to harvest right now, and our store is full of preserved tomatoes. And so these would really represent a bit of a problem for us in terms of what to do with them. Maybe we could harvest another week's worth or something like that, but all of these, a lot of them would end up being given away. So blight only survives on living tissue, so I'm going to get all these chopped up, and I am going to cover them with compost because I've still got lots of potatoes on the plot, Christmas potatoes, and I don't want the spores to blow around in the wind and get to the potatoes, although it's probably inevitable. And actually, looking at the potatoes, these do have a little bit of blight on them. Here's an example here. So what I'll do is I'll just snip the affected leaves off, because these are the Christmas potatoes, and the longer I can keep them growing, the better. This is why I start my Christmas potatoes in June rather than in July and August, because they almost always get blight, and I almost always get a decent crop off them, provided I just keep the blight as under control as I can. I've never yet had it spread to the tubers if I just keep an eye on them. Obviously I'll lose maybe 10% of the leaves each week if I'm lucky, but hopefully they'll be okay. So that's what I ended up with. It's not so bad. These potatoes have had about 90 days now, so and they're 120-day Charlottes, so they should be decent. And I'll just store them in the compost. They'll be fine until Christmas. In fact, they'll be fine all the way through till March, early April time, when they start to sprout again. And they taste just as good as potatoes planted later. There we go. That's all the blighted leaves covered. And I'll just put this tarp over them as well, just as a double protection. There we go. Now I'll just have to keep an eye on any plants that I've got and strip off any leaves that I see in the polytunnel as I go. I've still missed a few here, look, but for now I'm just not going to take every single leaf off. I'm not exactly sure on the strategy, but for now I think maybe quite a lot of the leaf isn't that badly affected. I just want to see what happens. As I say, I'll keep an eye every day. So that is a bit of a blow, but I stress the bit of a blow, to be honest. I've sat in the polytunnel, had a drink and a bar of chocolate, and I feel much better about it all. And I think that's the nice thing about growing a big diversity of crops and growing in multiple locations and multiple varieties. It's the cooking tomatoes of San Marzano that are the worst affected. The cherries seem to be quite a lot better. Anyway, I'm going to harvest all those. I'm not going to do any preventatives. I'm not going to spray bicarb or anything like that on them. I just think that the chances of spreading the spores by having water dripping around is probably worse than just leaving them. And this is the first year that I've actually had significant blight problems in the polytunnel. So you know, you just have to take the rough with the smooth with gardening, and just be thankful really that every plant has its own pests and diseases, and there's not one disease that kind of runs through your whole crop. So when you grow, you know, 200 different things, there's always plenty that succeeds, even though a few things fail. So I sowed these lettuces almost a month ago today, and they're already ready for harvest. I was a bit worried actually, because they're in the shade of all this asparagus, but they seem to have really thrived, and I planted them out, I think, only a week and a bit ago. So yeah, the first harvest, so it's really exciting. So that's a fabulous first harvest, and it's quite welcome in particular because the back garden lettuce beds, some of them have got lettuce root aphid, and that's one pest that, fingers crossed, touch wood, we don't have on the allotment. So even if that bed at home gets decimated, we should have enough to keep us going here. And it's quite interesting really to contrast the amount of salad lettuce plants that we need at this time of year with the amount that we need in midwinter. I think we'll need 5 times this amount to harvest the same amount. So yeah, it's quite the commitment in bed space when you eat a salad every day. So although this lettuce bed at home is looking pretty good, that one I've already lost 3 plants in it, so it's not looking so good. And the beans, they've really been affected by the high winds and the cold weather that we've had. So I don't think we're going to have many beans going forward beyond the harvest that we did today. So despite the blight, it's still a nice harvest table this week. And I actually think harvest should start to pick up a little bit next week or the week after as we move into autumn. And yeah, let me just run you quickly through. So obviously we've got all these beautiful collet leaves, red Brussels sprout and green Brussels sprout leaves, kales of various different descriptions, and spinach, and just mixed fruits here. I normally eat my fruits straight off the plants every day, but we just picked a few just to show you the range that we've got right now. Everybody's been busy making various different tomato passatas, tomato bases, tomato stocks and things like that. We've got a few dozen of those now. And sweet corn, of course, loads of sweet corn, loads more to come. Cooking apples, which we bartered actually because we don't have any cooking apples ourselves. Carrots, leeks, celery, mixed herbs, trumpettinos, and these are the peppers. And although we've had really loads and loads of ripe peppers for the last month, this is that was all the ripe peppers that we had this week, so not many. So I picked some green ones because we've got hundreds of green peppers still to harvest, and so I thought I'd better start using some of those up because we're never going to get more ripened before the middle of October when the plants come out. And then we've got the potatoes, beetroot, more herbs, and this is a chutney, green gage chutney. I think we've made 15 of those this week. Courgettes, still a decent number of courgettes. These are just still the reject onions, used now ones. We've not yet had to touch the storage onions. There's the little green gages, and some just garlic from the store. And then these are the tomatoes that we picked. Well, some of them, we've got some for the salads as well. Down here, a decent number of tomatoes. And then we've got the beans. So quite a nice table this week again. So I just finished harvesting in the back garden, and I noticed that the plants are a bit limp, and it looks like they've got root aphid in quite a lot of them. So I'm really pleased that I've got this spare tray of a lot of my favourite varieties here, and some spare pak choy and tatsoi and pak choy as well to take their place. So I'm just giving them a soak in some nice cold water, and that should crisp the leaves up a little bit. And although root aphid is a big problem right now, or a potential problem right now, it really doesn't seem to cause any problems other than right now. So it's just really late summer and very early autumn, and subsequent planting should be fine. So here's the salad table, and I'm pleased to say that finally the salad harvests have started to pick up. And I probably mentioned this many times before, but we intentionally don't have that much salad in midsummer because it just goes to seed so quickly and the quality is quite low. And so right now, just as we enter, I think of autumn as September, everything starts to pick up, and yeah, it's really nice and the quality is way better. So to these lettuce bases, I'm going to be adding tomatoes. We don't have any spring onions at the moment. I just don't think I've never found a way to grow spring onions successfully at this time of year. But these are beautiful, sweet as anything, baby onions that we grow instead. And some more tomatoes and plenty of cucumbers. And I'm sure in that mix somewhere we'll find the odd caterpillar. So that's how they finished up. They look quite nice. We had grapes to our salad mixes, and actually did the first pick of chard as well from the back garden, so I was quite pleased about that. Only put that in a couple of weeks ago. So I hope you like this quick harvest video. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel. It's been a busy day and I'm going to have a nap. See you soon.